What if I told you there's a battle going on right now? Not for land, not for money, but for the very soul of existence itself. It all comes down to an eternal wager, and trust me, the stakes could not possibly be higher. So, let's just dive right in.
Okay, so right at the heart of all this, you're faced with what's basically an impossible choice. On one hand, you've got the cage. Picture this, a world of perfect order. It's sterile, it's static, everything's known. But there's zero freedom. That's the tyranny of the absolute. Then, on the other hand, you have the abyss. This is total, complete chaos. Nothing's real, truth just melts away, and there's absolutely no meaning. The tyranny of the relative. So, which one's worse? A perfect prison or a meaningless void?
Now, to really get a grip on this huge cosmic dilemma, we're going to bring it way down to Earth. We'll start with a very specific, very tangible story. Think of it as a parable, and it all goes down on a jagged peak, looking out over the Bay of Naples, right in the shadow of a sleeping volcano.
All right, let's meet the two main players in this wager. On one side, you've got the eternally creative. This is pure life, chaos, creation, all that good stuff. The philosopher Nietzsche had a name for this, the Dionysian force. And on the other side, we've got the spirit of gravity. This guy is the total opposite. He's all about order, stasis, saying no to life. You can just feel the weight of him, carrying that leaden book filled with unchangeable rules.
So, you might be wondering, what are these two cosmic forces betting on? A kingdom? A person's soul? Nope, it's this. A little vial of dried, solidified blood. This is the blood of Saint Januarius, the patron saint of Naples. A follower named Eusebia collected it after he was executed way back in the 4th century. And this tiny ancient relic, this is their battleground. Okay, so here's where we get into the nitty-gritty of the bet. The spirit of gravity, our guy for order. He looks at the blood and says, it's dead. It's a clot of absolute no. He's so sure of it, he wagers his entire leaden book that it'll stay frozen forever. And if he wins, well, the whole world becomes a silent museum where nothing changes. But the eternally creative has a totally different take. The bet is that the blood just loves the earth too much to stay a stone forever. If it melts, if it flows again, the world gets to stay dangerous, vital, and, alive.
All right, let's dig a little deeper into the spirit of gravity's whole deal. Because this desire to keep things frozen, to maintain that perfect stasis, it doesn't stop with a little vial of blood. Oh no, this is a philosophy that scales up big time to a cosmic level.
So, it all starts right here, with this one simple desire, to say no to life. The goal is to take something that was once vital and flowing, something alive, and turn it into what he calls a clot of virtue, something hard as a pebble, cold as a truth. Basically, to make it a permanent, unchanging, and in his eyes, a perfect fact.
And here's where you see that idea just explode in scale. This is Vril Dox, also known as the Last Thinker. He's got the exact same ambition, but he's thinking way, way bigger. We're talking galactic scale. His plan? To get absolute control by collecting all knowledge, literally bottling up entire worlds, and then, get this, destroying the chaotic, messy originals. All that's left is his perfect, clean, static collection.
And this is the final form of that desire for absolute order, the Apocalyptian Forge. Just think about it for a second. Fire is supposed to be about creation, change, even chaos, right? Well, here, they've completely flipped the script. Fire isn't used to create anything new. It's used to temper, to solidify, to basically forge reality into one single, absolute, unchangeable order. It's industry as a weapon against life itself.
And it all boils down to this one concise and honestly pretty chilling command. This is the core belief, the central mission of this whole philosophy of saying no to life. Be stone, be perfect, be dead. 3 simple steps to total, absolute order.
Okay, but what about the other side of that bet, right? What's the comeback to becoming a perfect dead stone? Well, it's not a gentle disagreement. It's a full-blown rebellion, a powerful, chaotic, life-affirming force that just flat out refuses to be contained.
So when the blood finally starts to change, it's not because of some divine miracle or mercy from above, not at all. The catalyst is something way more earthly, more primal. It feels the deep rumble of Mount Vesuvius, its brother in fire. And in that moment, it remembers its own chaotic, molten past. This is the Earth reclaiming its own.
And listen, this isn't some gentle thawing process. It's not a peaceful surrender. It is a rebellion. The text says it happens with a sudden, violent urge. It froths, it bubbles, it expands. It's literally fighting against the stasis that was forced on it. That's the will to power in action, just completely overcoming resistance.
You see, the melting blood is way more than just a physical change. It's a huge philosophical statement. It's like the blood is screaming da capo, which means once more, or from the top. It's saying yes to its entire existence. The fire, the pain, the struggle, all of it. And by doing that, it's shattering the laws of the spirit of gravity. And that brings us to the final verdict, the triumphant shout from the eternally creative. Look, the truth melts, the dogma sweats. He is not a saint, he is a stream. That cold, solid dogma just gives way to a warm, dangerous, flowing reality. The saint isn't a dead relic anymore. He's become a living, moving stream.
Okay, so the stream wins the bet. Awesome. But does that mean we're just stuck with chaos now? Is that really the only other option? A perfect cage or a bottomless abyss? Well, this is where things get really interesting, because there might be a third path, a way to move beyond that impossible choice.
And to explore this third path, we're going to look at Vampirella. Now, for decades, her entire identity was a total mess. She had so many conflicting origin stories. Was she an alien? Was she a demon from hell? Nobody knew, least of all her. And this left her with this deep, what the text calls existential nausea. She had no idea who she really was, just a pile of contradictory stories people had told her. And then she has this massive breakthrough, a total paradigm shift. She just stops. She stops looking for the one single true origin story. And she realizes the chaos, the contradictions, the fact that she's been manipulated over and over, that wasn't the problem. That was the truth of her existence. That chaos was her actual origin. So, the big question is, how do you turn that kind of weakness into an incredible strength? Well, she embraces that Dionysian spirit we talked about earlier, that absolute yes to life, chaos, contradictions, and all. She forges a brand new, transcendent identity, not by finding some clean, perfect answer, but by diving headfirst into the fiery, messy, absurd crucible of her own life.
And this is what she becomes. A self-begotten Ubermensch. She's no longer a victim of her pasts. She remembers every single one and she weaponizes them. She basically operates on a closed causal circuit, which means she defines herself from the inside out. You can't rewrite her story anymore. She's immune to reconning. She becomes totally uncontainable, a living glitch in reality, and the one and only author of her story.
So, let's wrap this all up. We've been on a pretty wild philosophical journey. What does this third path, this transcendent path, really mean when we look back at that impossible choice we started with?
You know, Nietzsche has this amazing metaphor that just sums it up perfectly. He says, man is a rope tied between beast and overman, a rope over an abyss. And the point isn't to scramble for safe ground on either side, not in the perfect cage or the chaotic void. The real challenge, the whole point of the journey, is to have the guts to be the rope itself, to live dangerously, right there on that path of becoming who you are.
And so, that leaves us with one last really provocative question to think about. Vampirella's transformation. Becoming this uncontainable being that nobody else can define, it opens up some incredible possibilities. So I'll leave you with this. What are the true limits of a being that doesn't just accept their messy past, but actually turns it into a weapon? What happens when someone remembers everything the universe has been trying so desperately to make them forget?